Hey guys, it's Ada again, and this video is about something that's really important to me, and that is DACA. So a lot of you guys know that I'm involved in activism, immigration activism work regarding DACA and the DREAM Act, and a lot of you guys have asked me what it is. And so this video is hopefully going to help you guys understand what DACA is. And so first of all, I wanted to show you what a DACA work permit looks like, just so you guys kind of get an idea. So this is my DACA work permit. And don't worry, I trust that you guys won't steal my identification. It's actually a really good picture of me, by the way. But anyway, DACA was created in 2012 by then President Barack Obama, and it was kind of a way for him to fulfill his empty promises that he was going to help the immigration community, because when he ran his campaign and his re-election, he promised that he was going to help the immigrant community. And so there was a big push from immigrant rights activists for a DREAM Act a couple years back, and the DREAM Act failed. So what President Obama did at that time was he issued an executive action. So when he did that, he sidestepped Congress to pass DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And it's the work permit that I showed you guys. Some of the DACA requirements include you had to have been in the United States for 5 consecutive years. You had to have been here when President Barack Obama made the announcement on June 15th of 2012. You couldn't have had any major crimes or misdemeanors on your record. You had to have been under 31 when he made the announcement. And you had to have been currently enrolled in school, graduated, or obtained a GED in order to apply for DACA. When you apply for DACA, you had to pay $465 every 2 years to renew it. That price then went up to $495, plus any additional fees you had to pay a lawyer if you wanted to seek help for the DACA application. One thing that DACA did not provide, which was something that was very important to us, was a pathway to citizenship. And a pathway to citizenship is really important because with DACA, you just renewed it every 2 years without even being able to apply for a lawful permanent residency. So it was basically just keeping people in the cycle, in the loop of every 2 years, paying money, with no certainty in the future of what kind of life they would have. I mean, it was great. People were able to get jobs, people were able to start driving legally, but that wasn't enough. So something that immigrant rights activists and people all over have been pushing for is the DREAM Act. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier, which was what we were trying to pass before DACA was enacted. The DREAM Act stands for Developmental Relief and Education for Alien Minors. The DREAM Act has the same eligibility requirements as DACA, and the people who are DREAM Act eligible are called Dreamers. So those are probably some terms you've heard: DREAM Act, Dreamers. But what we have been pushing for lately is a clean DREAM Act. And a clean DREAM Act basically means a DREAM Act that not only allows a pathway to citizenship, but also doesn't meet the requirements that now President Donald Trump has tried to tie into the bill, and I'm going to read those off. A clean DREAM Act means no funding for a border wall or increased border security, no funding for interior enforcement, and no mandatory e-verify. Also no funding for more detention centers. So that's why we've been pushing for a clean DREAM Act. So that's maybe another term you will hear. So not only is it important to pass a DREAM Act, but a clean DREAM Act. When President Trump ended DACA, he gave Congress a March 5th deadline. So March 5th is actually 28 days away. So we have less than a month to try to get Congress to see if they're going to pass a clean DREAM Act or some sort of legislation that would give DACA recipients the opportunity to stay in the country that they've called home for so long. My personal DACA ends in 222 days. So the card that you saw earlier, this will no longer be good on September 15th, 2018. So once that date rolls around, I'll lose my job, I'll lose my driver's license, I'll lose my social security number, and basically be back to square one. I'll be undocumented again. And that's really scary to think about, only having 222 days left of security and not being at risk of deportation. And that makes me really angry. But in all seriousness, it is really scary, and thousands of people have already lost their DACA status. Thousands of men and women, parents, siblings, their teachers, their professionals, their businessmen and women, their people who live maybe next door to you. So basically, DACA recipients are just waiting in limbo again. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the DREAM Act is going to pass this year, but hopefully after this video you understand a little bit more about what DACA is, what the DREAM Act is, and what we really want. From my personal perspective, from from my story, DACA is important to me because I want to continue my life in this country. I see my future in this country, and it's the only country I've really ever known. I came to the United States when I was just 4 years old, and I want to be able to stay here along with my family. I'm not scared that I will be targeted or deported, but it is a possibility. And I know it's already happened to thousands of others, and there are people that live in more fear and who are more at risk. We really need to fight and get a clean DREAM Act passed as soon as we can, because there's only 28 days left from the deadline that Trump gave, and we need to make sure that we protect all these families and we stop separating families and we give people a chance to be able to live their life. That's all we want. Hopefully you learned something about the DREAM Act and about DACA recipients, me being one of them, and I'll try to post more videos regularly. You guys can tell me what else you want to learn about, and I can share from a personal perspective. I don't just want to shoot out facts at you because you guys can easily Google those stats and figures, but I just wanted to give sort of a face to the issue and to make sure that you guys understand a little bit more. So thank you for watching. Tune in next time.